can't beat 'em, then you pop 'em. You can't man 'em, then you mop 'em. You can't stand 'em, then you drop 'em. You pop 'em, cause we pop 'em like over red and vodka. Young money, C3, okay, a millionaire. I'm a young money millionaire.
All right, welcome back to Monday Morning Mining. I'm Sean Ristow with Matt Aggie. We also have Mega Miner Alex with us today. Alex, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Always happy to talk about mining.
Absolutely. It's a rough Monday, little rough in the market, but a lot of news coming out this week, so we'll see how things shake out. But let's dive right into it. Matt, why don't you let's kick it off.
Yeah, great to have you on, Alex. Thanks for coming on. First, could you just tell us about yourself, introduce yourself and Mega Miner and what it is that you all do?
Sure. So I've been very interested in Bitcoin for a while, and I started working in the mining industry just over 4 years ago, and it's been a blast. I predominantly sold Bitcoin miners, but I've also, tinkered with them, been in mines, worked in warehouses, all sorts of stuff. So I've seen a lot of different aspects of the industry, but my, main role has been to travel to all these conferences, talk with Bitcoin miners, hear what they're doing over the last 4 years. And it's been, incredibly interesting. The industry has changed a lot, and I'm passionate about trying to help my customers find solutions. I want to build long-term relationships. I've seen a lot of people get flushed out in this industry, including myself. Like I had a mining venture that didn't go the best, bought the top of the it's very small scale, but bought the top of the ASIC market in 2021. And, it was a good, painful learning experience. I'm glad I experienced that pain because I think it's important as a salesperson to be able to, understand what your customers are experiencing, the stakes that they're taking that, I might make a little bit on the sale, but, if I'm not trying to help set people up for success, like there could be some pretty serious consequences in their lives. And mining is one of those businesses that is difficult and can be incredibly painful, and a lot of people just do not understand what they're getting into until they're experienced in it. And there's a lot of narratives that get people excited about, and so I like to try and educate my customers on the basics of it, and try to steer them in a direction for anywhere from knowing the right equipment to buy to working with the best partners. And I've spent a lot of time trying to talk people out of mining through the years, because there's a lot of people that get excited about it, but it's typically not going to be a good situation for them. And I'd prefer to lose that sale in the short term, even though it's kind of hard right now because the market's pretty rough. But I'd prefer to lose the sale in the short term if it means just not seeing somebody get completely wrecked in this market. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, we've been talking about how difficult it is. I mean, no pun intended. We have seen difficulty come down a little bit in terms of the network, but the price is not cooperating, so the hash price is still pretty low. Like, what are your thoughts on the state of the current economics, the current state of the sector? And I guess it's a big sector. There's public miners, there's miners of all sorts of sizes, but what's your general sentiment right now?
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about mining disrupt, and it was my second mining disrupt this year. They had one earlier in the year, I think in Q1, and the sentiment was really bullish. And at this one, the conference was, apologies, I've got some background noise, so let me know if it gets real bad, but there's some construction happening. But the sentiment was, it was a smaller conference. I had a blast because I really enjoy going hanging out with my customers and, you know, other people in the industry and just seeing what's going on. But it was a lot smaller, and I think people were kind of tired, and you know, the sentiment was kind of bearish. And I don't know. I get excited when the sentiment is bearish because I think like I do enjoy the chaos. It's part of what I enjoy about this industry is the volatility of it. And I think the most successful people in the mining industry are the ones that are kind of built for that. Because you know, when you're going out and you're deploying a Bitcoin mine, there's no way to project your profits realistically. Like you can understand your cost, but you have no idea what the Bitcoin price is going to do.
Right.
And so you have no idea what your profitability is. And, you know, oftentimes power markets are kind of volatile too. And I think they're just going to grow increasingly more volatile. And so, you know, you have to be an individual that is willing to deal with uncertainty, you know, and chaos, and to be built for that and plan for that. So I think that the people that are, you know, have stuck around in this industry, you know, for years and years and years that I see at these conferences are people that are kind of like that. They're just, Nick and I used to joke, we used to call Bitcoin miners masochists, but like they just enjoy the pain. But right now it's, you know, pretty painful. I think most of us were expecting in this market. This is why it's so important to, you know, just be very conservative and prepare for worst case scenarios, you know, in your deployments. Most of us were expecting, you know, the last few months to have just been absolutely glorious, like historic cycles. And it wasn't in the slightest. It was, you know, the profitability has been, you know, flat or trending down since the halving. So we have yet to see a real bull market in Bitcoin mining like we've seen in historical cycles. But yeah,
I mean, you brought up you know, when we were talking before we joined on here, you were actually talking like, I mean, some of the, you know, are we going to see this? So everybody says, oh, every 4 years, it's this, it's this cycle, it's that cycle. But I mean, to your point, you said earlier, like things are a lot different this time. And, you know, you have a lot of institutions in the game they're playing. You know, a lot more opportunity for leverage on trades, not just from, you know, offshore exchanges anymore. But that being said, you know, how does that play into the mining space? And I guess, are the days of Bitcoin mining itself by its own self, are those over and you have to do Bitcoin mining coupled with something with like AI, the AI play?
a lot of the industry has been moving towards AI, you know, data center stuff. We've avoided it just because it's not really what our wheelhouse is. And I think it's going to be a good decision in the long run for us to just, you know, focus on Bitcoin mining. It's what's interesting to us, which I think is that like I enjoy this industry and I enjoy this topic quite a bit, and I like enjoy working on things that I am interested in. And so, you know, mining is pretty useful, you know, for these AI data centers for a variety of reasons. So they kind of pair well together, and it makes sense that the industry is moving there. But I think just to clearly answer your question, I think the answer is yes. Like, you know, miners benefit from being creative and finding other uses to pair mining with, whether it's like recapturing heat is a meme that is super popular, and I've seen cool people do that on a small scale. I used to heat my house with Bitcoin miners, which is fun, and I encourage people, you know, if they want to, it is a fun process to just tinker and you know, potentially drive your wife crazy with noise and try and figure that out and learn about electricity and stuff like that. But one of the big ones is, you know, if you have income somewhere you can offset it. So, I mean, you know that mining's rough. You want to acquire Bitcoin in a way you can generate losses either, intentionally or, just prepare for it and take advantage of generating, expenses to offset the income and um, play tax games, depreciate the Bitcoin miners that you have. I mean, I think there's tons of creative reasons to mine Bitcoin that you could take advantage of for sure.
I was going to say, because I mean, in this type of market, as a seller of equipment, are you seeing the equipment prices come down? If you're a buyer and you want to get into mining, is this actually a good time because of the tax advantages potentially and the upfront cost? Is it lower?
It's hard to say. I mean, the equipment is always devaluing as the manufacturers are coming out with newer equipment. So we're right on the cusp of the new generation of machines being taken to market. So if things kind of continue to trend as they are, as far as hash price goes, and these new machines come out, they're probably, next month or in the next few months, they're going to be worth a lot less. So, when you're projecting or trying to think is now a good time to buy the equipment, you kind of have to look at, what you're predicting the devaluation of these machines to look like versus the mining profits that you would, or I don't know how to explain this in a,
I mean, the price of the machines is going to continue to go down over time, and then but yet the price for the electricity side goes up, and so you kind of have a catch-22. And so what do you do there? Do you, Matt and I have been talking about this on a couple of the shows of like, it's a very, very cost intensive game. And I don't think a lot of people, to what you said earlier, I don't think a lot of people understand it, of how much the actual cost is, the outlay. And, of course, it's all roses when Bitcoin's going up in price and everybody's singing Kumbaya. But it's when the music stops and you're sitting there with a couple million, if you're on an institutional side, a couple million of infrastructure, and it's underwater. So that's why I asked the question about like the AI piece. I think there's the folks at home, which is I'd love to know, like, really quick, what is your core day-to-day focused on? Like, what is your core business that you guys focus on? Because I don't think it's not really on the institutional side as much, is it?
I mean, it can be. It depends on the market. So, when things become real scarce, larger miners will work with us a bit more because there's just not as much availability of equipment. But, my typical customer is like a medium to small scale miner. So anywhere from like 5 megawatts to a couple of machines in their house. Those are the people that I typically work with. And my day-to-day looks like just kind of bumbling around all over the place, talking to anybody that is interested in mining that will listen to me, and just continuing to connect and check in with people that I've been talking to, for years, and seeing how their process, works. So I enjoy the job quite a bit because I get to see, people grow and develop just their lives in general, and have these long-term relationships with people. And I haven't been posting as many memes on Twitter, but I used to do that a lot more, just post mining memes. I guess I should just post like the skeleton sitting on the bench waiting for the mining bull market to start. It's about what I got as far as creativity in that regards at the moment. But yeah,
at least you're honest.
Yeah, I guess what actually, I saw a tweet that you put out after Mining Disrupt, and what caught my attention was decidedly that you're saying, a lot of people are talking about AI and HPC. Of course, they're doing that because of the core competencies that they have, but also the margins are higher, so it's helping them through this difficult time. But you decidedly said, that's something we're not interested in. We're not going to do. We're going to stay laser focused on what it is that we do. You kind of already touched on that, but I mean, what keeps you kind of optimistic or continue to be engaged in this industry despite the pain?
I think we have an edge. I think we have an edge for multiple reasons, because I think one thing that sets us apart from other people is that we genuinely care about our customer success, and have a long-term view of things. But it's an industry that we know a lot about and have been involved for a while, where I think we can beat out new participants coming into the industry trying to compete with us. Whereas the AI HPC we don't know anything about, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen there. I think almost everybody is in agreement right now that it's some sort of bubble, and that we don't know if or when it's going to pop, but it is going to pop. And one thing that I'm skeptical of is just the hardware in general is it's very early on in the hardware cycle, and we saw this a lot in Bitcoin mining, where people were obsoleted pretty often. You make the wrong bet on the wrong equipment, a new miner comes to market, and you're just screwed. So I think the economics, I don't know. There's a lot of risks that I don't understand, and I don't think a lot of other people understand. It's been interesting to watch the last few years, where it seems like, because I'm talking to these publicly traded miners, and part of the reason why they're going into AI is not just that they're chasing profits, but their investors are demanding it. And It seems like a lot of these investors, they just get so sucked into whatever the buzzword is. They have no understanding of the industry that they're talking about whatsoever. And so they're just like, they buy these stocks, and they demand that these companies go and do whatever the recent buzzword is. And I think just jumping on whatever the trend is. I mean, we saw.
I'm sure you just didn't describe like a majority of venture.
Yeah. I mean that's like another reason, I think that sets us apart is we're a company that we entirely bootstrapped ourselves with no venture funding whatsoever. And that gives us a lot of flexibility and freedom, and the ability to say things that we want to say, and I think deliver a better product to our customers as a result of that. But I don't know. I mean, it's just whatever the recent buzzword. I've seen this a lot in mining too, where people will get so excited about something, and one thing I've learned is nothing is real until it ships. Like, it just, do not get excited. Whatever the pre-order is, be very skeptical. Be conservative when a new machine comes to market that people are excited about. Wait for it to actually land, get some testing data on it before you ape into it. Sometimes people take outrageous bets, and they pay it off pretty successfully, but the majority, like probably 80-90% of the time, people get burned pretty hard when they're operating without intelligence and an understanding of
strategy.
Yeah. Or just an uninformed strategy. Yeah.
I think that's a lot of the market, though. I mean, like, because if you in the interest of time, like if I were looking at this saying, I mean, most people I don't think should even be in mining, because if they don't understand one, engineering and all the components that go into it, two, like the infrastructure that's required behind the scenes on top of the miners, like from power to air to, first of all, property. Like, where's the property located? Because if you put it in the wrong, it could be a cool place, but if it's in the wrong place, that cool air could be humid air, and that's really bad for these machines. Like, there's so many different, it's almost a science. And I mean, that's why it makes sense to me why a lot of these mining companies are getting into other avenues for revenue, because they need something to throw cash off that can fund that side of the business, while, that side of the business is not potentially, growing. Think about like the EV market, the solar market. I mean, let's all be serious. Why did solar grow? Well, you can thank the government for that, because it was all subsidized. So the same with the EV market. It's been heavily subsidized. So to me, it's almost artificial growth. It's not real, growth. Now, what happens with AI? I don't know. I think a lot of the enhancements of AI is actually going to help the overall mining space as a whole. It's not going to be, I don't see it as bad. Yes, it's a distraction for sure. But I mean, we see what's happening with all the miners right now. They're not in a good spot. So where do you see the market going, I would say, in the next, call it 5 years?
I think some miners are in a good spot. I think it just depends on where you placed your bets, how conservative you were, I don't think most miners are in the spot that they wish they were in, where it's not, glorious right now. But I definitely think there's a lot of my customers are expanding and growing right now, because they understand the industry, and they hedge their bets, and they got in good power deals and situations, and some are being flushed out. But where do I see the industry going in the next 5 years? Yeah, I mean, the industry in the last 5 years has changed pretty dramatically, from the form factor of the machines to the way that people interact with power markets to the just general sophistication of mines. I think there's going to be a lot of creative solutions on a small scale. I think there's a lot of ways that businesses can interact with Bitcoin mining that make a ton of sense. Just on a smaller scale, where you're not as price sensitive, I would say. But there's I think one of the big ones is just a lot of these companies at a very large scale are going to start interacting with Bitcoin mining in general, because they'll find it useful for the reasons that I said before. Like, you can generate losses intentionally, acquire Bitcoin. I think mining becomes interesting the more Bitcoin is seen as a legitimate reserve asset by corporations. Especially companies in the energy sector in some way. One of the things I've been really waiting for is the utilities to be the ones that really ape in on mining, because it could potentially solve a lot of issues. Like right now, many of these utilities are outsourcing load balancing to Bitcoin miners, and there's no reason why they couldn't in-house and do it themselves. But maybe what that looks like also is there are miners that become more of a service provider to these grid operators, to offer load balancing solutions, and just target them and market it more directly, instead of kind of going and negotiating and like begging them for a power deal when a lot of times they're not taken seriously.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I mean, so I apologize. I'm running up on time here. And that being said, one thing, Matt, why don't you close us out here on the conversation?
Yeah, no, I thought that was a great point. I spent a lot of my time on the energy sector and corporate Bitcoin adoption with mining and treasury and the like. So I'm bullish on that. Where can people find you, Alex, and how can we get in touch with you or Megaminer?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Telegram. If you search Megaminer Alex or Megaminer in any of those places, it'd probably be pretty easy to find me. But our website's megaminer.market. And always happy to chat if you have questions about Bitcoin mining.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Alex, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. We'll definitely, keep in touch and bring you back.
Yeah, really appreciate your time, guys.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap for today. We'll be back next Monday. Got a couple exciting guests coming, and until then, reach out if you're interested. Check out 21rates.com, and have a great week.